Hi everybody, Scott here. In this video, we're going to look at how an INFJ can actualize their vision and purpose. We're going to look at the challenges the INFJ can have, and I'm going to share some of my own experiences that I've had as I've tried to walk this path myself, because I think it's sort of valid for the video. In this video, we're primarily going to talk about how to actualize it into the world, but we will touch on the area of like, how do I find my purpose as well. So let's start with the cognitive functions, because I think that really does help lay a good foundation for what we're going to talk about. The NI carries the vision, carries the purpose, sees the big picture, sees the future, but it's SE, it's engaging in the sensory world, it's engaging in the world that will bring that NI to fruition. It'll bring it to pass. That is both the solution and the problem. So NI is the comfort zone. SE is not comfortable. SE is like the Achilles heel for the INFJ. There's a love-hate relationship with it. There's a push and a pull there. SE is messy. It's unpredictable. You've got to deal with the elements, you've got to deal with people, you've got to deal with people's agendas, you've got to deal with politics, everything that happens in the world. The INFJ has to deal with that. Now, I think for the most part, the vision and the purpose unactualized is going to feel good. It's going to feel good to be dreaming about it, envisioning it, seeing it outside of the SE environment, without engaging the vision in the external world. It's going to be a comfortable idea for the most part. So thinking about the vision is going to feel more comfortable than taking action on the vision. At the end of the day, it is the taking the action in regards to the vision that means anything. Otherwise, it's just an idea in the head. So taking action is going to be the hardest hurdle to overcome. The moment action is taken, in the sensory world, it's kind of where that vision meets reality. And I guess there's a tension there between the vision and what's actually playing out in reality, in real time, in the sensory world. And it's like a reality check. Once the feet are on the ground walking it out, feeds back information to the vision about how this is actually going to happen. I think because the INFJ is already living in the fulfillment of that vision, in a sense, the picture is there, the feeling is there, what it could look like is there. That's contrasted to beginning that step, walking it out in real time, and the length that it's going to take, the side quests that's going to happen along the way, the challenges that are going to be faced. That all starts to come into play once action is taken, basically. For the most part, it's going to be uncomfortable. Not all of it all the time, but growth, stretching oneself, stepping out, it's for the most part an uncomfortable journey, and there's a saying, become comfortable with discomfort. Just accept it as part of it and keep moving forward. Now, I think for a lot of people, the INFJ is living out their purpose before they're living out their purpose. I know for me, I found myself doing aged care work in my early 20s. I had no idea, I guess as a young 21, 22-year-old, you're not really thinking of nursing homes and so on. But when someone mentioned it, doing some aged care work, something about that just sort of got my attention, and I just went with it. And I had a job the next day, actually. But that was sort of the beginning, and I didn't know it. And then later on, I started, I just found a job somehow, I can't even remember how, doing disability support work and becoming a one-on-one carer with a young lady with an acquired brain injury, and assisting them. And that's where I started to recognize some, or other people actually started to recognize some qualities that I had in regards to helping this person develop some independence, because I'd become quite dependent on others doing everything for them, that I started to create a space for them to start to redo and relearn to do things for themselves. And I remember It was a neuropsychologist, I believe, that came in as part of their case management And I had a conversation with him, and he said something along the lines of, not everyone doing this work is doing or can do what you're doing here. You might want to pursue psychology. And that gave me a boost. I was actually on my life's purpose journey before I even knew it. And that might be the case for some INFJs watching. They're actually living some early stage of it out right now. My sense is just to succeed wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Well, when I was doing the support work, I kind of plateaued. I'd sort of, I was doing it, and I wanted to improve. I wanted to better myself, and I was like, well, what's the next step? And the most logical next step was to do nursing, just to improve my qualifications. But it was in exploring that and exploring. Actually, someone asked me when I told them about nursing, I don't really want to do it, but I'll do it. And he looked at me and said, what would you like to do? And I just needed someone to ask me that question. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I said, I think I'd make a good counselor. And that just began, so that was like 2003 or something, 2004. And that began that whole journey. There's some stories in that I'll share later on in the video. But for people, you're possibly already living it out and not aware of it, or if you're not sure, just improve where you are. But for those that may feel a little bit more lost than that, they're feeling stuck, they're not sure, is just look at what look at what you're interested in. When it comes to your own research and your own interests, what are you watching on YouTube? What are you reading? What fascinates you? What hobbies are you involved in? What are your interests? That might actually start to create a bit of a map about what you might want to do. But again, the key for the INFJ that's really unsure is to take action. So that could be start talking to people. What do you think I should do? Maybe even talking to a career advisor or something, and just see what comes out of that. Doing your own brainstorming, etc. Anything that is action orientated, I think is a positive and will be a pathway towards the purpose, whatever it might be. It's the inaction, staying in NI and just thinking, that is the challenge. So in that sense, it's really engaging that extroverted feeling in the sense of engaging with others that you trust to give you good feedback. And I think when it comes to feedback, you really want to go to people that are further down the road than you. I guess an example for me is I was a student counselor at a certain counseling center, and then I was employed there for a couple of years. And I never felt like I fitted there. I just didn't feel like they were my people. I just felt like I didn't belong there. And I went and spoke to a supervisor, my new supervisor. I had a new supervisor by this time. And I said to him, I don't belong there, and I want to find somewhere where I belong. And he said, well, and I think I had the idea of, I said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to approach who I know to approach about what I'm doing. I'm a counselor, I'm recently graduated, and I'm looking for opportunities, and I just want to let people know that I'm a counselor, and and sort of just meet pastors, priests, other counselors, counseling centers, and just introduce myself and just see where it led. And the supervisor said to me, if you do that, you will find out where you belong. I still get goosebumps when I think about it, when I remember it. And I said, and that was, again, someone further down the road than me. And I listened to it, and I'm like, okay, that gives me some confidence and some motivation to pursue it. And over the course of 2 or 3 months, I met with maybe 60 different people. I actually put a flowchart or something together where what I wanted to achieve from each conversation, what questions to ask, and that sort of thing. And one of the questions was, is there anyone that you think you would recommend that I let them know about what I'm doing, and so on? And I'd often get a list of people, and I'm like, okay, they're the next lot of people that I'll introduce myself to. And it was a really interesting time because it's not in my nature to cold call people, to meet strangers that I've never met at coffee shops and introduce myself and talk about myself. It was very outside of my comfort zone, but it was really empowering, and I got to meet a whole lot of different people. I found myself after about 3 months back with the same supervisor talking about everyone that I met, and then I said, I feel like I need, there's something going on at this church, and they mentioned that that you're looking at starting up a counselling centre there, and he looked at me and he said, I want to invite you on board to be a counsellor here. And it's just a miracle. Just a miracle to be sitting with the man who says, go and find out where you belong. And then I met all of these people, and then I eventually went into this church and I met people that I didn't know he knew, and that they were talking about a new counselling centre that they were setting up. And it turned out to be my supervisor that was doing it. And I'm like, I think I belong here. And when I went back to him, like I didn't make any didn't tell him I want to be a part of this. I think it was just in the spiritual atmosphere that I was to be a part of it. And he said, yeah, I want you to come and be a part of the team. And that was just an amazing spiritual experience, and something that, it led to being with him and his practice for 6 or 7 years or something. And that's where I really became a counselor. That's where I really became who I am, basically. So I say all of that to say miracles happen as when you pursue your vision and your purpose. And doors open, doors close, difficult things happen, wonderful things happen, but you just keep the vision in mind, and you just keep pressing on no matter what. So for the INFJ that is very clear on what they want to do, maybe they want to be a counselor, maybe they want to be an entrepreneur, maybe you want to go into the arts, whatever that clear idea is, they're going to probably have little inroads into it already, people to talk to, courses to explore, and that's just the action that needs to be taken there. Now, it is the vision that sustains the INFJ throughout the journey. The journey is probably a lot windy, full of just stuff that needs to be addressed. I think I mentioned side quests earlier, things that weren't expected that need to be dealt with. But I think along the way, when milestones are reached, that you're starting to get a positive feedback loop, as opposed to I have a vision and I'm starting to walk it out, but nothing's really come of it yet. I'm figuring my way forward and through it. At some point, there's going to be a milestone, a breakthrough, something that's overcome, that's going to be part of that actualization process, part of that seeing the vision start to play out in the world, and that feeds back into NI, it feeds back into the INFJ, and there is a partial fulfillment, which in a sense is a fulfillment of the vision starting to take shape, and that sustains the next part of the journey. I think for the most part, an INFJ needs to accept that opposition is probably going to come in some form as they're walking their vision out. That can take many shapes and sizes. For someone, it could be a specific subject within the course that they're having a really hard time with. It could even be dealing with a lecturer, or dealing with a colleague in a workplace. If you're in a church, that could come from someone or someone's in a church context, opposition will come from, I guess it will come from wherever it can come from, to try to essentially get you off the path. And the key ultimately is just to stay on the path. For me, I had certain scenarios take place, certain obstacles, opposition. The place that I did my student placement for becoming a counsellor, I then became employed as a counsellor there after I graduated. And I was assigned an in-house supervisor while I was there. During a supervision session, maybe this first or second session, the supervisor, they got up to get something, and when they came back to sit down, as they were kind of leaning to sit down, they just came right up to my face like that and just stared at me and then sat back down. And I was in shock and finished that supervision session, and I'm like, I can't be with this person. I can't be in a room with this person alone. Anyway, I ultimately went to the director of the counselling centre and talked to them about it. And they got the three of us in to discuss it, and they just gaslit me the whole time. I can't believe you thought that, or I'm not sure why you would think that, and all of this sort of nonsense. Anyway, they were no longer my supervisor, but and I addressed it the best I could. But not long after that, I was walking down the hallway, and they were coming the other way. And in Australia, we drive on the left-hand side, and so for the most part, when you're walking down the street, like on a path, or you're walking down a hallway, you stick to the left. So as they were coming down, I was just respectfully moved to the left. So there's the wall and me walking this way, and she proceeded to walk in front of me and push her way between me and the door. Totally inappropriate. And that's the type of person that I had to deal with as a new counsellor in a counselling centre. The way through all of that is just to keep moving forward. Don't get hooked into it. Don't get enmeshed in it. Just see it for what it is and continue to move forward and outgrow it, outlive it, outlast it. There's just something about humans that not everybody, but it's more likely that people don't like to see other people succeed. And so it's important to go to people that you feel are further down the road that might actually be able to speak into your situation. Because once you start building momentum and moving forward, you'll probably realize the people in your life that you probably shouldn't be there because they actually are envious or jealous of your growth and success and want to pull you back. Put you back in your place. So be prepared to say goodbye to people along the journey, because there'll be those that won't like the fact that you're moving forward. I think another thing to keep in mind is that you may find that few people believe in what you're doing, or no, you might not have anyone that believes in what you're doing. But if you find a few, hold on to those people, because they're diamonds in the rough. They will stand with you through the thick and thin of it, regardless of what's going on. For the most part, you may find you're on your own a little bit, or it's different seasons along the way. And that's where the vision, keeps the INFJ together, basically. Now, as a general rule, I think INFJs, for the most part, are outliers in the modern culture. It's just the way it is. I like that movie. I love that movie, Good Will Hunting. I think it's a fantastic film. And that movie came to mind when I was putting this video together. It's the scene where Will's he's on a date with someone, I can't remember her name, but she kind of asked him, like, do you have a photographic memory? And he talks about how he doesn't, how some people are able to just look at a piano and know how to play it and know what to do with it, and that there's lots of things he's not good at, but when it comes to remembering and absorbing information and just carrying that knowledge, he uses the term, I could just play, I think is what he says. I think I like it because what an INFJ is often good at is not like mainstream, or in the way in which they engage in what they're doing is not done in a mainstream way. There's something a little unorthodox about the way an INFJ can succeed in whatever way they're wanting to succeed in. It's not going to look like most other people. And I think I just want to bring that idea around to find out what it is that you can do. This may be back to those that are still trying to find out what they're good at. Whatever that thing is, it's like, find out what it is that you can just play. And because it's not going to be necessarily on a career intake form, career path intake form, doesn't mean it's not valuable or has value. See what the way you think is out of the box, and whatever that out of the box thinking is, what is it, and how can that apply to the world, and build a life around it. I guess the other part of that movie is I relate to it. I relate to that concept that he provided. Like, there's lots of things I'm not good at, but when it comes to the realm of counseling, I can just play. So I think I'm saying all of that to say, what is that thing that you're able to do that in? What continually works out when you apply yourself to it? I did a poll recently on the channel where I asked, what's your deepest desire? And I gave 4 options, and one of them was, is your deepest desire to have a deeply committed relationship? And I go back to the Good Will Hunting movie, because talking on his date, and he was just being himself, pursuing. Yeah, like he didn't have his purpose and his vision fully formed, but he was still living from it, if you like. He was solving maths equations while everyone was away from the university, because he was a cleaner there. So he's kind of living out his purpose. I'm saying all of this to say that for those that are looking and wanting that a deeply committed relationship, that pursuing the vision and the purpose, I think, for the most part, is the way towards finding that person. After those 7 years with that practice, with my supervisor, who's still my supervisor actually, I got married. I moved to the country. We've been working on a permaculture garden together, and that's been 10 years now. We've got a son. I never thought when I started the counseling journey that I'd end up doing an online practice and helping people all around the world. And that was I guess another step in it all. That was just another a step of faith. Like, I'm going to move to the country. We're going to get married, and I'll take my practice online. I'll just make videos and see what happens. And that turned out to be another major part of the journey. So anyway, I hope you found that helpful, and I hope it speaks to wherever you're at on your process of fulfilling your vision and your purpose, and go play.